This is Field Notes from The Proving, short reflections from inside the process of building a life that's earned, not perfected, earned. There's a moment in every pursuit where you stop asking, can I do this? And you start realizing, I already went too far to turn back. Let's level set. This wasn't just any cruise. This was an MSC cruise through Europe. We're talking flying from New York City to London, a few days in the city, and then moving through France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany, a full 7-day trip. Not alone, but with my husband, my sister, my brother-in-law, my mom. And if you know my family, you already know what that means. A moderate amount of drinking, a lot of belly laughs, late nights that somehow turn into early mornings. Listen, we're a fun group, the kind of group that everyone wants to be around. And for most people, this would be the perfect escape. But here's the truth. I wasn't escaping anything. Because by this point, January turned into February, and I was only weeks away from my first marathon. Not months, not, quote, someday, weeks. And everything I'd built, every cold run in New Jersey, every treadmill session that I didn't feel like doing, every mile that felt pointless at the time was leading up to this point. But here's the problem. I wasn't just on vacation. I was in the middle of training for my first marathon. Not casually training either. Not, I'll get to it when I can type of training. I was locked in, super laser focused, and completely and utterly obsessed. So now imagine this. You're walking through Europe with your family, laughing, drinking, staying up late. But in the back of your mind, there's a clock that's just ticking. A plan waiting, miles that still need to be run. You're operating on less sleep. You have different time zones, the constant movement. And you're trying your best, quite honestly, to be present, to laugh and enjoy and be part of it, but all while knowing you can't lose the edge, because this environment right here is one of the biggest distractions a person can face when they're chasing something serious. Not because it's bad, but because it's good, it's fun, it's connection, it's everything you'd normally choose, and that's what makes it kind of dangerous. Because discipline isn't tested when things are hard. To me, it's tested when things are good. Leading up to the cruise, I was locked in. February 15th, I ran 17 miles, 2 hours, 34 minutes, and 4 seconds, right around a 9-minute pace. Everything felt like it was clicking, quite honestly. The plan was working, like everything needed to be where it needed to be. And then February 25th, we were on the cruise. MSC, sailing through Europe. It was beautiful. We were in Hamburg, Germany. And honestly, I should have been enjoying it, but I couldn't shake it because in the back of my mind, on repeat, over and over and over again, was the following. I need to run. I need to run. Oh my gosh, I need to run and I need to do it now. And it wasn't just internal. My family even kept saying, Chris, just leave it. Chill out. You're on vacation. Why do you need to run 20 miles? Who cares? And they weren't wrong. A more experienced marathoner might have even said, move it back a week, move it to the following week, whatever, adjust the plan. But I had just run 17 miles the week before. And at this point, I didn't know if I could move it. So I didn't. I stayed the course because in my mind, if the plan said 5 a.m., I'm up at 5 a.m. If the plan said run, I'm running. There were no exceptions. And maybe that's discipline, or maybe that's the perfectionist in me refusing to break the system. But either way, I wasn't giving in. Not to the environment, not to the voices around me, not even to the plan itself. So finally I said, fine, I'm running today. And I went to the gym on the ship to do 20 miles. But here's where it gets real. This wasn't some perfect setup because the treadmill, well, it only ran on 30-minute increments and it was set to kilometers. There was no conversion, no miles. So imagine this. You're already running 20 miles, but every 30 minutes you have to stop, reset the treadmill, start it again. And the entire time you're doing math in your head, kilometers to miles over and over and over and over again. Because the perfectionist brain doesn't just let it go. It's not just run. It's make sure it counts. Make sure it's accurate. Make sure it's real. Did you do the conversions right? Double check it again. Make sure that you're doing those conversions right and you're making sure that you hit those miles because you can't be wrong and you can't let the So I kept going. Reset after reset, segment after segment. Not even sure how many times I had to restart it, just knowing that I wasn't stopping until it equaled 20 miles. And I checked that calculation no short of probably 700 times on a cruise ship, nonetheless. Oh yeah, docked in Hamburg, Germany, while everyone else was living on the vacation. And somewhere in that repetition, in the stopping, restarting, recalculating, it stopped being about the run itself because this wasn't convenient. This wasn't ideal. And honestly, it wasn't even logical, but I did it anyway. And somewhere in those miles, something shifted because it stopped being about the marathon. It stopped being about the time goals or the pacing strategies or proving anything to anyone else. It became something simpler and probably even way more powerful. I realized I could trust myself, not in like a motivational way or not in the highlight reel way, in like a real way. The kind of trust that says, if I'm going to do something, I'll find a way to get it done, no matter where I am, no matter how inconvenient it is, no matter who's watching or not watching. And that changes everything. Because once you build that kind of trust with yourself, you don't need perfect conditions anymore. There's a version of you that only shows up when it's convenient. And then there's a version of you that shows up no matter what. The second one, that's the one that builds the life you actually want. And most people never meet that version of themselves. But if you're here, if you're in it, you already know. This isn't about motivation. It's about proof. And the work continues.